your failures and plan ahead. And lean into the future, cause the world around you is about to change against you. If you think in terms of money, you'll be left with money to lose. But your life can never be defined. It takes your time, the sweat and blood you lose, so victory can be redefined. We're in need of a new dimension for convention. Need some action for invention. Your intention transform vision to the new dawn of life. Nobody's chained to a rank anymore. So build your own home and live to inspire the world. It's business we're talking and it's ethical.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege to address you on this momentous occasion where Sri Lanka hosts the 58th ACI Financial Markets World Congress 2019. The association of SLFA and ACI traces its roots back to over 35 years, where SLFA received its ACI affiliation as ACI's 45th member on the 29th of March 1983 under the presidency of our founder president Mr. Freddie Jayaraja. The executive committee of the SLFA has put together a congress to remember with many timely topics such as new regulations impacting markets, AI and machine learning, cryptocurrency, blockchain and other market disrupting financial products and services, the new Silk Route, global market outlook for year 2020, and Sri Lanka as a gateway to South Asia being deliberated in the business sessions by industry experts.
Feel no fear in the face of adversity. Being persistent is a must. Earn yourself trust to lead. Sign your checks, sign it to style the world. Put yourself behind to build the entire nation of the world. Who will pursue your dreams you can't define. New dimension for convention. Need some action for invention. Your intention transform vision to the new dawn of life. Nobody's chained to a rank anymore. So build your own dome and live to inspire the world. It's business we're talking and it's ethical.
Hi everyone, good evening. It is my privilege and honor to welcome you all to the 58th ACI World Congress here in Colombo and for the opening ceremony of the Congress, to discuss the matters of affecting our industry and the main current challenges. But more important for us is the role Sri Lanka will and can play in financial markets as the leading hub between Asia, Middle East and Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, ACI has always seen diversity as part of its strengths. We are all here today from many countries around the world because we share a common objective: collaboration for a better future.
If you think in terms of money, you'll be left with money to lose. But your life can never be defined. It takes your time, the sweat and blood you lose, so victory can be redefined. New dimension for convention. Need some action for invention. Your intention transform vision to the new dawn of life. And nobody's chained to a rank anymore. Yeah. Oh, build your own dome and live to inspire the world. It's business we're talking and it's ethical.
yourself. Are you ready? I'm sure we all are, ladies and gentlemen. That was a very unique rendition of our theme song here, made especially for our Congress. The lyrics, the music direction, as well as the vocals were performed by a talented and versatile Sri Lankan artist, Mario Ananda, and we thank him for his special contribution towards our event.
Now, as mentioned, the ACI World Congress is a highly anticipated gathering, and for this global network, it's an opportunity to share expert knowledge, discuss trends and best practice, and Sri Lanka is proud to host the 58th edition. Firstly, to formally welcome you all, it's our pleasure to invite the organizing committee chair for the 58th ACI World Congress, Sri Lanka Forex Association President Shanaka Perera. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Chief guest, Mr. Bruno Langfritz, Chairman, ACI FMA. Guest of honor, Mr. Kim Winding Larsen, President of ACI FMA. Mr. H.A. Karunaratna, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Mr. R.A. Jayalat, Assistant Governor, Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Other senior officials of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, members of the ACI Management Board, members of ACI National Associations represented here today, our friends from all commercial banks and other financial and non-financial institutions, invitees, other dignitaries, and fellow members of the Sri Lanka Forex Association. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to address you on this momentous occasion where Sri Lanka hosts the 58th ACI Financial Markets World Congress 2019. The association of SLFA and ACI traces its roots back to over 35 years, where SLFA received its ACI affiliation as ACI's 45th member on the 29th of March 1983 under the presidency of our founder president, Mr. Freddy Jayaraja. The executive committee of the SLFA has put together a Congress to remember with many timely topics such as new regulations impacting markets, AI and machine learning, cryptocurrency, blockchain and other market disrupting financial products and services, the new Silk Route, global market outlook for year 2020, and Sri Lanka as a gateway to South Asia being deliberated in the business sessions by industry experts. I am greatly indebted to the executive committee members and other members of SLFA who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to bring alive the ACI World Congress in Sri Lanka. It is indeed a coincidence that we are having the Congress at a time when Sri Lanka is striving to become a regional financial center through its new financial city taking shape in Colombo, and also on a rapid rebuilding process on the aftermath of the recent unfortunate incidents. I take this opportunity to thank the management of People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, Commercial Bank of Ceylon, Ceylon Bank, Capital Alliance Limited, Nations Trust Bank, and Sri Lanka Money Brokers Association for investing in this event and the future of our local markets with their generous sponsorships. We also wish to thank the management of Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, and Standard Chartered Bank for sponsoring guest speakers for the Congress. Thank you for believing in us and for your unstinted support. In conclusion, let me thank all those who put their shoulder to the wheel in organizing the Congress, especially my committee and all those who encouraged us in every little step we took. Very especially the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Senior Deputy Governor of the Central Bank and other senior Central Bank officials, Mr. Bruno Langfritz, Mr. Kishu Gomez, Chairman of Tourism Promotion Bureau, past presidents of SLFA, all speakers of the Congress, and each and every one of you for being here to share this joyous occasion and encouraging us. Hope you all take away many new learnings from the Congress, aptly titled Discovering the Role of Markets in the New Paradigm. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Hi everyone, good evening. It is my privilege and honor to welcome you all to the 58th ACI World Congress here in Colombo and for the opening ceremony of the Congress. A special welcome to the Deputy Governor, other central bank governors or officials, beg your pardon, and to our dear ACI members, guests and sponsors. Allow me to thank the Sri Lanka Forex Association, especially Shanaka Perera, and all of you have worked so hard on the organization, which has been excellent of this important event. You are responsible for having brought us together in the wonderful city of Colombo, where we had a boat cruise yesterday, we had a city tour, which is really lovely, to discuss the matters of affecting our industry and the main current challenges. A special thanks, Kurax Istuti, to all sponsors, as without your support, such a great event would not be possible to be done so successfully. For ACI, it is a great pleasure to be in Sri Lanka, taking advantage of the hospitality of this amazing country, strategically located on the Silk Route. It is impressive what kind of developments are going on here in Sri Lanka, just to name one, with the huge Java project. But more important for us is the role Sri Lanka will and can play in financial markets as the leading hub between Asia, Middle East, and Europe. Being the leading global association of the wholesale financial market professionals, contributing towards market development, we are surely looking forward to a very fruitful event. Our focus is even more on education and ethical conduct, as was mentioned in the beginning, on an ongoing basis, especially the adherence to the FX Global Code for the buy and sell side is on the very top of our agenda. We are working with most central banks on this, and you will see the various statements from them on the session on Saturday about the BIS Global Code. We work closely with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, and I had the pleasure to have several meetings and be there, as we do with other countries, to support the local market in this very important endeavor to certify and or train traders continuously on the FX Global Code. On Monday, Rui Correa, our Director of Education, held a one-day workshop, and over 40 participants took advantage of this. ACI FMA and Sri Lanka Forex Association handed out personally to each participant a signed certificate, and I can see several here today at the opening ceremony. An institution signing up to the FX Global Code sends a very strong message to other market participants about its belief in the importance of conduct and integrity. Continuous learning, formal testing, and qualification of an individual's understanding of the code will reassure senior management, and we have especially the CEOs from the leading banks here, that the institutional procedures and practices are aligned with best practices. Ladies and gentlemen, ACI has always seen diversity as part of its strengths. We are all here today from many countries around the world because we share a common objective: collaboration for a better future. The next 2 days, we will share, discuss, and debate the developments and changes in the industry that may influence the future and the way we do business today. We hope that the Congress will be of professional and great personal interest to all of you. To reap the full benefits of this wonderful opportunity, we expect and encourage your active participation. Allow yourself to meet new people and build on the relationships you already have. I will now hand over to Kim Widing Larsen, our newly appointed president, to give you much more in-depth information about ACI. Goedendag is tutti.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, to address you next, it's our pleasure to invite Mr. Kim Larsen, President ACI FMA. Let's give him a warm welcome, everybody.
First of all, thank you very much for letting me introducing myself in my new role as President Delegate for ACI FMA. I just had this job for 1 month today. I want to start by giving you a brief update on my long financial career. I've been within Danske Bank Group in Denmark all my working life, actually for 39 years, starting in 1980. I moved from normal banking area into the financial markets in 1987, and I was appointed chief dealer in the markets area in 1992, and first vice president in 2002. Since then, I've been involved in the management of various parts of Danske Bank's FIC business in Denmark and abroad for our international banking, where I was in charge of the trading rooms and foreign market divisions. During the last years, I've been working on the business transaction under MiFID II and into the new European benchmark regime. Most recently, I worked under the new risk-free rate project in Denmark. As far as ACI is concerned, I joined the ACI Association as a member in 1990. At that time, it actually was called Forex Club Denmark. But during the years, we saw the change and the need in the market for more education. More and more traders, for example, from the money market side, they wanted to be a member of ACI. So we changed the name, like many other ACI associations, into ACI Denmark, where we today have ACI members from FX area, money market, fixed income, research, treasury, etc. In 1997, the board of ACI Denmark decided to develop our education program in a broader range. I was therefore appointed chair of the new established education board of ACI Denmark. I had that role for 4 years, and during the time we managed to set up a lot of new courses for the region. In 2001, I became president of the National Association in Denmark. I have been in that role for 18 years, and I just stepped down for 2 weeks ago on our General Assembly. I also served as European ACI President from 2017 to 2018. When we changed the education profile in Denmark, we wanted to establish a broad education framework for all levels of the Scandinavian market with different models that could work closely with the ACI headquarters in Paris. Our education program has been hugely successful in Denmark, thanks to the hard work of so many people. And at one stage, we were the biggest ACI education program in the world. For 1 year, we were running 12 education courses, like one each month, which is a big effort. Since the start of the new development program, back in 1997, more than 1,500 members has passed one of our ACI exams in Denmark. We were also one of the early adopters back in 2003 of the ACI dealing simulation course. As you know, this has been a great success, and with our other courses like dealing certificate, operation certificate, and ACI diploma, we had a big success with these. This also helped us to demonstrate to senior management in the banks in the region the real value ACI can beyond the traditional network. We were able to demonstrate that we could put on a lot of education events and a lot of seminars. It helped us triple our membership in Denmark within 6 years leading up to the global financial crisis. But in my new role as President Delegate of ACI FMA in Paris, the 3 keywords for ACI, conduct, education and networking, will remain in place. They are still the backbone of our organization. But we can possibly add to these. I would like ACI to be more visible and have a louder voice in developing the financial market on the future. And that means being able to join more working groups and having a presence on the committees that will shape the future of the industry. We are the voice of our ACI members, and we want to make sure that that voice is being heard. It is important that ACI is heavily involved in developing our industry. I want all members to be proud of their ACI membership. During my long career, I have been a keen participant in various working groups, covering everything from FX, money market, bonds, repo, and the regulatory area. After the new FX Global Code was introduced, the Scandinavian central banks, along with market participants, established the Scandinavian FX Committee, and I was invited to join as an ACI observer. I would like ACI to be a strong contributor. To do this, we need to have a very strong profile and use all kinds of communication channels to get our message out there. I also think it's important that ACI involves with the market, so we need to look at developing our international program to reflect that change, and that possibility means a lot of different areas that traditional ACI has not looked at that hard, such as cryptocurrencies and the fintech area. During the last weeks, we have established a new working group in ACI FMA. It's actually called the Crypto Working Group. My first priority is to support our members in the 60 national associations as they seek to navigate in the changing industry. And we can do that by reinforcing what we can offer in terms of education service around the FX Global Code and the benchmark regulation, just to name a few. There should be value of being an ACI member, so I want to ensure that we deliver that value to our members, so we can do, or so they can do their job within support from us. The key to it will be ELAC. ELAC is our training and certification platform. ELAC is really moving in the right direction now, and we want to remain that momentum. We are getting some really good feedbacks about the benefits, and banks compliance and oversight teams really like this tool because it's helped them maintaining a good understanding on how well their people are in line with the code and the requirements from regulation. People like how it is scalable. So as the FX Global Code evolves and new codes and regulation content are introduced, then ELAC can be updated to ensure it remains relevant and updated all time. It is unique. We can build further on this system to make sure that it is a trusted tool for any financial market business. Beside the FX Global Code, our ELAC portal today also includes the UK Money Market Code, and the Global Metal Code. But we can add to these. I want to develop ELAC into a broader education resource that our ACI members can go to and to extract knowledge from. We need to help our members by giving them this type of information around regulation to ensure they are fully informed of what is required of them. This type of program is more important now than I think it has ever been, given the speed which regulation and technology is moving these days. So adding, for example, MiFID II models or the new benchmark regulation into ELAC will really help our members, who will be able to leverage the ELAC offering beyond the global code and into a specific area of regulation. There are large and growing numbers of regulation out there. It is important we help our members to be fully updated of what is required of them under these rules. The FX Global Code is a document that has the potential to transform the market. It was a little bit slowly introduced in the market due to that we had the MiFID II requirements at the same time. But it's really taking up since. And since it started in May 2017, a lot of banks have signed the code. We understand that there is now a need for the buy side also to adopt the code. And ACI will help in this, not only through our membership of various FX committees, but almost our members around the world can at least help us by doing this. I'm confident that the code will gain a greater traction. It is a matter of time, effort and education, and ACI can leverage its footprint globally to help. We have already held great numbers of seminars in local markets around the world, like the one Bruno mentioned that we had in Colombo on Monday this week. This is to help educate and raise the awareness of the code, and will continue to do so. We fully support the code and the principles it stands for. We need the code because the DNA of strong, robust financial markets is good conduct, and a framework within everyone can work and understand. We need good and fair guidelines. The first 3 years review of the code will come next year. I want ACI to play a part in that, providing feedback to this new review. I also want our voice to be heard when discussions turn into shadow banking or fintech firms moving into financial service as principals. I want to develop ACI in line with changes in the financial market. We should not be afraid of changes. ACI has a strong foundation that I want to build on in the future. I'm very happy working with Rui. He's very strong as an education director. I think we will work well together and we will be a successful team. We must be proactive in approach if we need to succeed, and that is my ambition. I'm very happy to be in the new role as President of ACI FMA. Thank you for your time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you're already aware, our Congress deals with important topics of discussion, all based on the theme of discovering the role of markets in the new paradigm. And keeping in line with this timely theme, we are privileged to be joined, as every year, by eminent local as well as international speakers who will be offering us the best of their expertise and industry insights over the course of the business sessions that will be held all day tomorrow and the day after that as well. Friends, to now give you a brief introduction as to what the 58th ACI World Congress has in store for you, it's now time to hear more details from the Secretary of the Sri Lanka Forex Association, as well as an organizing committee member of the 58th ACI World Congress. Let's now welcome on stage Mr. Jack Dyers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. After all that entertainment, song and dance, we finally had to get down to the business end. This is why we are here for the next 2 days. And my task is to outline the program for the next 2 days. So with the rugby fever being very popular in Sri Lanka as well, we thought we'd kick off the proceedings with a rugby. And not just any rugby, but a former national captain who played for Sri Lanka. Dr. Indrajit Kumar Swami will be our guest, chief guest tomorrow. And he will kick off the sessions tomorrow with his keynote address. From that point onwards, we'll be moving to our first plenary session. A much debated topic these days, one belt, one road, China plus one, there are many themes around it. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, we'll find out. For that, we'll have Ms. Juliana Lee, who is the Managing Director, Chief Economist Asia for Deutsche Bank, who will be presenting the keynote address on the topic leveraging on Asia and the new Silk Route. The panelists will be Dr. Mr. David Mann, Global Chief Economist of Standard Chartered Bank, Mr. Suan Tekkin, Head of Research, Executive Director, Global Economics and Market Research of the United Overseas Bank, our own Professor Sirimal Aviratna, Professor of Economics from the University of Colombo, and Ms. Subhashini Abesinghe, Research Director of Verite. The session will be moderated by Mr. Krikumal Devatantri, who is the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank, and he has promised an action-packed session tomorrow. Moving on to plenary session number 2, I had a very scary discussion with the keynote speaker this morning, who told me that basically the content of his session will replace most of our jobs in the near future. And he also gave me some hope, a very visionary statement. He said the best way to predict the future is to create it. The next session, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and other fintech innovations and disruptions probably might us have been doing very different jobs in the future. And to speak about it, we got Mr. Nitin Bandari, who is the keynote speaker, who is the Managing Director, Global Head of APIs, Platforms, Partnership Access for Standard Chartered Bank. The folks on this panel speak a very different language. You might have to do a lot of Googling to understand them. The panelists are Dr. Tuan Phan, Associate Professor, Department of Information Systems and Analytics, the National University of Singapore, and of the National University of Hong Kong as well. Mr. Ashish Pitlay, a former head of structuring, and now managing partner of Alpha Alternatives, a trading and hedge fund. Mr. Eraz Ratnayaka, our own from Sri Lanka, the Chief Customer Officer and CEO of Hilaria Capital. And they will be moderated by the only man here who has worked for NASA, Dr. Harsha Manigatunga, the Chief Information Officer of Sri Lanka Plc. Coming down to a different kind of people speaking to a crystal ball and predicting the future, our third session, the Global Markets Outlook for the year 2020 and beyond, and will be very specific on certain asset classes, fixed income, currencies and commodities, and a little bit of credit and capital markets. The session will be led by Mr. David Mann, Global Chief Economist, Standard Chartered Bank. We also have a very interesting panel there, Mr. Suan Tekkin, Head of Research of United Overseas Bank, Mr. Vinay Awasthi, Managing Partner of Perigon Capital, our own Mr. Shiran Fernando, Chief Economist of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and the moderator will be a former Managing Director of Citibank in name, Mr. Bernard Sinaya, and he has promised us that this will be a very interactive session tomorrow. The fourth session of the day is where we learn the new rules of the game. We heard about the ever-changing landscape of regulation and how transacting will be different in this new regulation. And to hear about it, we have the fourth session new regulations impacting markets, and we heard Mr. Larsen speaking about it elaborately in his speech as well earlier today. The keynote speaker for this session will be Dr. Martin Libby from PwC. He holds the legal and regulatory and compliance services and is the head of capital markets. We also have our own Mr. Marcel Zimmermann from ACI, is the head of money market and foreign exchange of the Swiss National Bank. Mr. David Woolcock, Chair Committee for the Professionalism ACI FMA and Vice Chair for ACI FXC and ACI representative for the BIS Foreign Exchange Working Group. Mr. Amlan Chaudhary from JP Morgan, Vice President Local Market Sales. And once again, this panel is moderated by Mr. Nyomal Gurwardana, our legal professional from Nitya Partners. Going to a different set of people who will look into a very different crystal ball and predict the future of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka having a lot of development activity, especially with the port city and a lot of other areas which are emerging. We have our keynote speaker to speak about Sri Lanka, the gateway to South Asia, Dr. Harsha De Silva, Minister of Economic Reform and Public Distribution of the Government of Sri Lanka. We have Mr. Anushka Vijayasinghe, economist and international economic consultant. Mr. Liao Kang Min, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of the Port City Colombo and who might talk elaborately about what's going on in that new city that's coming up. Mr. Rohan Masakurala, CEO Shiva's Academy Colombo, who will specifically elaborate on Sri Lanka as a maritime hub, and something that we know very little of, innovative design. And to speak about that, we have Ms. Rita Stellavin, founder and chairperson of the Academy of Design. The session will be moderated by Ms. Savitri Rodrigo. Earlier in the evening, I had one of the moderators walk up to me and say, "You know what you are, Jack?" And when that question is posed to me, generally that gets me a bit worried. And he said, "You are a campist." And a campist means effects or a money market dealer, which is why how the name ACI is coined. Basically, what was more interesting was he was telling me that I use Siri on my iPhone to figure out what the meaning was and how to pronounce it. And where I'm leading to is basically Siri is part of AI. It's a part of AI that helps us in our day-to-day lives, and it's helping us perform day-to-day tasks. But apart from those simple tasks, AI and machine learning plays a big role in financial markets, and how these technologies have evolved into our workplaces and will probably help us perform our day-to-day duties, probably even creating more jobs for us. We have Dr. Duan Fan, Associate Professor of the Department of Information Systems Analytics from the National University of Singapore and Hong Kong, speaking about AI, machine learning and the future of markets. In his panel we have Mr. Nitin Bhandari, Mr. Ashish Pitle, Mr. Eraj Ratnayakar, and this session will be moderated by our own Mr. Rohan Bhutaya, Chief Operating Officer of Cargill Bank. And this is a theme that we've spoken a lot these days, conduct, which is becoming an emerging theme in global markets. It's everywhere. And to speak about it more in detail, we have the keynote address from Mr. Marcel Zimmermann, Head of Money Markets and Foreign Exchange of the Swiss National Bank, Mr. Kim Wilden Larsen, President of ACI FMA, and Mr. Rui Correa, who has a very Sri Lankanish surname, who is the Director of Education of ACI FMA. They will be speaking about the BIS FX Global Code, which is also presented to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka, incidentally, recently gave the Sri Lankan market participants their own code of conduct. And this session will be moderated by Mr. David Woolcock, who is the Chairman of the Committee of Professionalism, ACI FMA. That, ladies and gentlemen, brings to the business end of the ACI World Congress. I hope you enjoy its content. Thank you.
next, ladies and gentlemen, for the vote of thanks, it's our pleasure to invite to the podium Mr. Vihan Shakur, First Vice President of the Sri Lanka Forex Association and Co-Chair for the ACI World Congress Organizing Committee. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I feel immensely proud to present the vote of thanks on behalf of the Sri Lanka Forex Association, host of the 58th ACI World Congress. My sincere appreciation to Mr. Bruno Langfritz, Chairman ACI FMA, for his inspirational leadership and support towards ACI World Congress. A big thank you goes out to Mr. Kim Binding Larsen, President ACI FMA, and fellow members of the Management Board and Council. I also wish to thank Mr. H.A. Karunaratne, Deputy Governor, Mr. R.A. Jayalath, Assistant Governor, and senior officials of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka for all the support extended to the Sri Lanka Forex Association. I like to express my sincere thanks to Chairman, Chief Executive Officers of banks, money broking firms and financial institutions present here today amidst their busy schedules. We are also proud to have in our midst past presidents of the association who have strived hard to bring SLFA to what it is today. My gratitude also goes out to SLFA members, delegates and invitees who are eagerly awaiting to attend the Congress sessions during the next 2 days. Thanks also go out to our guest speakers who are present here today. A big thank you to our sponsors, People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, Commercial Bank, Ceylon Bank, Nation Trust Bank, Sri Lanka Money Brokers Association and Capital Alliance Limited, without whose generous contributions this event wouldn't have taken off. We also wish to thank the management of Hilton for providing all services. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to state that we are grateful for your presence this evening. Thank you very much and have a pleasant evening.